few years ago, a Santa Cruz man started making a pair of pants which are a little different from the rest. Different because they provide a little bit more room and are a lot more comfortable than most. Well, his idea caught on, as we see in tonight's cover story.
They're called chi pants. Chi from the Chinese word meaning energy. That's part of what you feel while wearing them, according to Mr. Chi Pants himself, Laury Ostrow.
The whole idea with these pants is that they make you want to move. It's like you're no longer restricted. Most people don't realize how restrictive most pants are. But suddenly you put on a pair of pants that look like casual slacks, and yet you can sit comfortably, you can move, your chi can express itself.
What makes chi pants different from all others is the way the inseam is sewn, utilizing what's called a gusset, a piece of fabric sewn in to give the wearer more room.
So the difference is where most pants have 4 seams in this area, we're using this diamond-shaped piece of fabric, and this is called a gusset. And the way that our gusset is designed is that when you stand, they look like regular pants, but the difference in movement is just really phenomenal.
Chi pants look like many others, but feel totally different because of the added room. And they're selling like hotcakes. In just 3 years, Lawrence has gone from a kitchen table operation to running 3 stores in Santa Cruz, San Francisco, and Berkeley. He has plans to open 47 more stores in the next 4 years.
I used to be a die-hard Levi's jean wearer, and I still have a few pair around, but other than that, these are pretty much the only pants in my drawer these days.
There is a whole attitude that goes along with chi pants. They're not just another pair of pants, and salespeople are trained to sell that idea as well.
When you meet another person in that way, we believe that there's a healing that takes place, there's an empowerment that takes place. And in fact, in how we train our salespeople, we use the metaphor that our stores are healing centers. That a person comes in, and when they're met in that way, you feel good, you just stand a little bit taller, you know. So a person leaves the store not only with this comfortable pair of pants that they're just amazed at, but with an experience that, boy, I've never experienced a retail store like that before.
And if you'd like, you can get your chi pants with a small crystal.
I pulled the one out in the blue car, that's correct. Oh, yes, excuse me, there is another one. Beg your pardon, yes. It was like a woman.
The scenes that flashed before us this week, in real life and on TV, shocked and confused us. Now we need to unscramble the chaos and figure out, where do we go from here? How do we rebuild? Can we afford it? Tonight, in a special hour-long report broadcast live from our studios, KQED looks toward the future.
Good evening, I'm Spencer Michaels.
And I'm Ginger Casey. For the next hour, we'll be talking about the earthquake of October 17th and the 40 seconds that changed forever life in the Bay Area. But instead of looking back at what happened, we'll be looking ahead to what's going to happen now that the worst appears to be over. We have with us a group of experts, community leaders, businessmen, and politicians, and we'll ask them what their plans are for rebuilding the Bay Area, what lessons a 7-point earthquake has taught us, and how they plan to cope with a future that's bound to be quite different from the past.
We'll talk with the mayors of San Francisco. Laury Ostrow, the president of Chi Pants in Santa Cruz. What happened to your business?
Well, we're a small 7-store chain of clothing stores in the Bay Area. Our corporate center is in Santa Cruz. Our main store is on the Pacific Mall, and that store, as far as we can see, is gone.
Just the store?
The retail store. We have stores in San Francisco and Berkeley and other areas, and those have come open in the last couple days. One of our main problems now is that our corporate headquarters, which is a half block off the Pacific Mall, is all roped up. So we're a mail order business. We can't get to our mail order. We can't get to our computers. We can't get to all of the administrative part that keeps the company going.
Will insurance help pay for some of that?
We really don't have insurance. So from my point of view, being the president, being the person who started the company, this is just kind of the next step in this entrepreneurial adventure, which has all kinds of strange ups and downs.
And a lot of people in Santa Cruz are in your boat. Santa Cruz is made up mostly of small businesses. This is not General Motors that got impacted down there. It's businesses like yours. Are they also uninsured?
I would say most of them are. kind of walk around the last couple of days. We have not been able to get to our businesses to see what the damage is. Everything has been roped off. So it's hard to say what they will allow to reopen, what they won't, but it will not be the same. We're real fortunate in that we have stores that have very good personnel, and independently our stores have been opening, so that business is continuing.
Joe and Nadi, we hear from the insurance companies you're going to get any assistance in all of this with the business problems you've had?
I think that we'll be able to get some of the federal money. We're in the process of getting the forms of putting our business together to be able to do that. So I feel that, you know, we're going to make it through this, and there will be some funding for us, and we'll continue on our, on our course.
Are you going to get insurance?
We will not get insurance. One of the good things that happened today is we didn't even have payroll money this week, and thanks to Bank of America and our local credit union, they backed our account to allow us to make payroll today. So we are getting assistance, you know, immediately.
But you have no plans for getting insurance in the future?
In the future?
Yes.
I haven't really even looked at that one yet.
Leo McCarthy.
Miles south of San Francisco, Santa Cruz has always been Northern California's favorite beach town. But there's more to our fun than meets the tide.
This is how the people of Santa Cruz like to remember their town. The beach and boardwalk, the sun and surf, the charming mix of historic buildings and new age shops that made up Pacific Garden Mall. But on October 17th, shortly after 5 p.m., Northern California was rocked by the strongest earthquake in 80 years.
For second place.
The shift along the San Andreas Fault shook Santa Cruz for as long as 30 seconds, twice as long as Oakland or San Francisco.
A strong earthquake, 6.9 on the Richter scale this afternoon. 7th and Bromer, power lines are down in Santa Cruz.
No, they didn't say. They just said it shook in San Francisco, all the way from San Francisco all the way down here.
We repeat, a strong earthquake shook the San Francisco Bay Area this afternoon at about 5 minutes past 5 p.m. The early report inside.
The final measurement was 7.1, with the epicenter in the nearby mountains. All of Santa Cruz County suffered heavy damage. In a region of little more than 200,000 people, the quake took 6 lives, erased 3,000 jobs, and made hundreds of families homeless. In the city of Santa Cruz, the Pacific Garden Mall suffered the worst of the damage. On Pacific Garden Mall, once the source of a quarter of the city's tax revenues, the savagery of the quake's attack was becoming apparent. Wrecking crews leveled one crippled storefront after another.
This was our flagship retail store. The store is about 1.5 years old. It was our main store. Luckily, nobody was hurt when it happened. I think there was probably 4 or 5 people working at the time, and they came to come out the front door, and the bricks were falling, so they had to run back through to get out the back door, and everybody got out safely.
Laury Ostrow had survived disaster before when a store he owned burned to the ground. But the quake caught his pants company with its cash flow down, posing the possibility that Chi Pants would have to fold.
This shut down one of our most successful stores. It cut out half our Christmas production, which was happening in Watsonville, and it gave us a really huge blow with cash flow at a time when we needed all the money that we had to be able to come out with Christmas merchandise and be able to come out with Christmas advertising. So it's kind of really shook us to our core.
Chi was one of Santa Cruz's more successful enterprises, growing from a mail-order vendor of New Age trousers to a Bay Area chain of 7 retail stores. With a payroll of 85, the company meant enough to the local economy to bring the mayor in to read a city proclamation honoring Chi.
And whereas Chi Pants are locally designed and manufactured, thus prosperously employing the local populace,
Proclamations aside, Chi was in financial trouble well before the earthquake. The company lost money in 1988. When the quake struck, Chi was in debt and having difficulty with its suppliers. John Schlesinger was brought in 4 months before the quake to turn things around.
We did amazing things. The people really rallied with me, and we made tremendous changes and turned the company around and made significant profits in a very short period of time. We didn't need an earthquake. Payroll is Friday, and with having people only get paid for the hours they work, the payroll will be $15,000. So I'm going to go back and ask the B of A if they will support us through another payroll.
One of our first worries was what we could do to lower our payroll, get our people so that we weren't running additional expenses and cover that initial payroll. We put everybody on an hourly wages, and we let everyone go, temporary layoff, except those that we had specific things to do.
Yes, after you get through tacking those up there, you can help Diane. You have like 2 more shelves over there.
For Ostrow, the layoffs meant saying goodbye to several employees who had helped him start the company 4 years earlier.
I feel a lot of sadness in that for me, it was really time to go. I wasn't really prepared to give up my job today in that as an income and a livelihood. And I've been here for 4 years.
How close has this earthquake come to putting you out of business?
Well, it actually still could put us out of business.
The acid test would be how well Ostrow and Company would make it through Christmas. Strong sales were a must. For that, she needed inventory and advertising and a quick government loan or private credit to pay the bills. The odds of success didn't look good to anyone but Lawrence Ostrow.
I firmly believe that we will come out stronger for this once we get through the crisis, but we're not through the crisis yet.
Having lost its most profitable store, Chi Pants is converting its factory outlet, a block off the mall, into a full retail store. Lost sales are bleeding the company of cash at a time when Chi needs every dime it can get.
When the earthquake hit, the stores were immediately out of service, and we lost about $71,000 of revenue in October. We can't afford to lose $71,000. So immediately we have to go to suppliers, vendors, creditors, and ask for help.
I'm calling to ask for a 3-week extension on all bills because of the earthquake damage. So I was wondering if you could give me a 3-week extension on those.
Chi had applied for a government disaster loan within 10 days of the quake. After making repeated phone calls to learn the fate of their application, Schlesinger and Ostrow were told to stop calling.
We've asked for $300,000 economic disaster and about $65,000 physical loss. Is there somebody from FEMA we can talk to about the progress of our request?
When did you call that?
Yes, today. And they told me the original promise of 48 hours to get back to us is now 2 weeks. Okay. I told them we can't make it 2 weeks. I need somebody to talk to me now. All right. At the same time, President Bush is on TV and he's saying that we're writing checks. And as far as I know, there hasn't been.
We have had people in here that have gotten checks. Individuals that have gotten
But I have a company with 85 employees, and we're trying to get those 85 employees back to work and to take them off the rolls of FEMA and unemployment. And I need help.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Colette Brachota.
John Schlesinger.
Hi, John.
I just want to know when we're going to be helped.
Well, I need to know at what stage you're at.
We need money to pay for phone bills and to bring new pants in as an interim until the business comes back up. And we need it now. And I'm working on bridge loans to the FEMA, but I think if we don't push these guys, it could take forever.
As a symbolic protest over the slow delivery of earthquake aid, Schlesinger had pledged not to shave until Chi got a government loan.
You too. This is Lawrence Ostrow. We met at the Social Venture Network conference. I have a company called Chi Pants. Chi, C-H-I. We've had lots of damage from the earthquake, and I'm calling up trying to get some assistance. Yeah, I'm sure we'll come through it and be stronger. But it's just, right now, just dealing with the cash flow problems are just just huge. And
So what we did was, as Street Fighter survivalists, Laury Ostrow called the Social Venture Network and told them of our problem, and they've loaned us $60,000.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you either today or Monday. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye. So that's good.
With the money on the way, Chi could now deal with the problem of not having enough pants to sell. The company sent operations manager George Millette to Watsonville to negotiate with its main contractor. The factory manager had laid off his entire workforce after the quake collapsed a section of the roof. With production restarting, the contractor was refusing to complete Chi's order until Chi paid him for work done before the quake.
So what happened to all your people?
Just split out.
Yeah. So basically what I want to do is I want to try and clean this up and get this ended so it's ended neatly. And I think that's what you want to do too.
The factory manager explains that with many of his workers still absent, he'll have to assign supervisors to finish the pants. Since supervisors are paid more, Chi must pay a substantial premium.
George, let's put it this way. I'm trying to help out as much as I possibly can without losing my shirt, okay? And I'm willing to do, if you'll pay, I'm willing to do it. It's that pure and simple.
I guess the part where it doesn't feel right to me is it's work that's in process. And we all had a disaster. We're all recovering from that.
I understand that, but I don't want to make my disaster bigger than it is.
In the end, Chi had no choice but to pay. Still, there was no promise that pants would be finished in time for Christmas. With the Christmas shopping season in full bloom, much of downtown Santa Cruz has moved into temporary domes erected on parking lots behind demolished stores. Nearby, Chi Pants has reopened its former factory outlet as its main store. To stimulate foot traffic, Chi is subletting the adjacent storefront, space it previously used for an office, to the Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Company.
You have to make a new decision, huh?
What?
As to where it's located. I think I'll put all of them right there.
Yeah.
Later.
Although back in business, money continues to be Chi's #1 problem. The company's losses have climbed to $500,000.
Our sales are certainly immensely down from where we'd hoped they would be before the quake, and they are down from where we wanted them to be after the quake. I think the problems that we're running into, two of the main problems, is with losing our contractor in Watsonville. We are about a month behind in production, so the things that we had planned on having for Christmas, which is brushed twill fabric, a new style of women's pant, and a new line of women's tops, are not going to be in for Christmas.
Chi has stayed afloat thanks to money from private lenders. Thus far, they've not gotten a cent from the government, although John Schlesinger spends much of his time supplying the Small Business Administration with data supporting their loan request.
Yeah, I did have a physical damage inspector visit me on Saturday, and he said he would turn in the package back to Sacramento. And it's been very confusing even to me of what really was going on, because I got the impression FEMA loaned you money, and then we really found out that SBA loaned you money, and FEMA just stands aside and says we're not responsible anymore. I did get a call yesterday from SBA, but they just asked me a very minor question on their continuing investigation. They wanted to know if we were relocating our retail store from the mall, and I told them yes, and they asked the address. So I still have a beard, and we don't have money from FEMA.
The strain of operating short-staffed and chronically short of money was demoralizing the company's remaining employees, particularly middle managers who were shouldering extra responsibility since the quake.
Personally, I'm reevaluating my commitment to this job and my passion to producing these pants, and I don't know how other people are feeling, but I think people maybe should start getting together in groups and talking.
I stopped shaving the day of the earthquake and said that I wasn't going to shave again until we received federal money. The last thing that we heard was Lawrence's persistence and keep calling them because they said... But they finally admitted last week they lost the file. The file is this thick. But with Lawrence's persistence, they went and found the file, and they said that everything is mailed, and that we will be getting the money. Shame. What I decided to do is, here's the money, and as soon as I'm shaved, I'll pass it out among all of you.
Despite the celebration, Cheap Pants didn't get its hands on any federal money for months. They'd managed to stay in business only by borrowing $175,000 from private lenders. So while John Schlesinger was finally shaving, his opinion of the government's disaster response couldn't have been lower.
They said that we had the best package submitted, and yet it's taken us 2.5 months, and we still really don't have any money yet. They say that we should get it this week, the loan papers. So I don't know if somebody really needed it, really had an emergency, and they couldn't make it through. I don't think they would have made it. So to me, the whole thing is nonsense. It's not emergency money.
This is a hiking pant that we do, which from the waist to below the knee is double fabric. So this is a double panel, and the seat's double.
By March, when Chi received the first small installment of its SBA loan, the company was fighting for survival. Sales had never recovered after the quake, depriving the company of cash it desperately needed. In February, for the first time in its history, Chi failed to meet its payroll. To trim overhead, they closed one of their 7 stores. Since October, Chi's workforce has shrunk by nearly a third. 29 people have left.